I just wanted to put out a quick tip that will let you easily throw together a map for a fantasy world. It's going to create a top-down view that will let you create something that looks a little bit like this, and with a little bit of change, maybe even something that looks like that. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to start off by creating a new document. And it doesn't matter what the size, this should work. And the first thing we're going to do is create some Perlin Noise. So we're going to go up to Filter, Draw, and create some Perlin Noise. And these settings should work. You just want something a little bit rough. And so scale 50, amplitude 1, these all look good. So let's click OK, and we're going to keep our Perlin Noise. The next thing we're going to do is add a gradient onto this so that it starts to look a little bit more like an ocean. So we're going to right click over here in the layers, and we're going to go to new correction layer, and we're going to go down to gradient map. And now we're going to create a gradient that looks a little bit like a top-down view of the world. So we're going to start off with the deep ocean blue. Click on that and get a nice sort of deep sort of ocean bluish color. That should be good. We're going to put in another stop there. And the next thing we're going to do is create sort of the light blue coast just outside of the beach area. So that's going to be a little bit greener and a little bit lighter. Oh, click OK. And then we're going to bring that up. Maybe not that close. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sort of add in the sandy beach areas. So we'll add another stop right there. And beaches are usually sort of yellowish brown. So that looks like a good sort of sandy beach color. And next we're going to need some forest green for the trees. So let's add in another stop. And sort of, that's a good tree color. That should be okay right there. Right, so you see we're sort of building up slowly with the water and then the beach. And next we're going to add in some gray for a mountain range. And gray is down at the bottom here. Maybe make that sort of bluish gray. Maybe a little bit darker. That should be okay. And finally we're going to have the white for the snow caps. But you see we already have some white up there. So that should be just fine for the snow caps. Now we're going to play around with positioning these stops exactly where we need them. So right now this looks like a very mountainous terrain with a lot of lakes. Let's make some more room for the trees there, and maybe more room for the ocean. So you can see that just by playing around with these stops here, you can change an awful lot of what your land looks like. How much of it is rocky mountainous terrain, how much of it is sort of open ocean, how much of it is beach land. So we're just going to play around with these a little bit until we get something that looks nice. Sort of nice sort of medium in between, maybe a little bit. Okay, that's kind of looking good there. You don't want to go too far to the ends there, but okay, now if we zoom out a little bit, we have sort of this large archipelago, which is a little bit of water, a little bit of land, and even like this, you might like how we're looking, but we're going to tweak this because chances are you don't want it exactly the way it came out here. So the next thing we're going to do is add in another layer. It's just going to be a regular layer, and we're going to set it to dark light. Where is that? Hard light. We're going to set it to hard light. And now we're going to be using our airbrush tool because this produces a nice soft stroke. And we're going to be using white and black to tweak our underlying noise layer. So I'm going to start off, you see we have white sort of loaded into the foreground color. And when we stroke on this layer right here, our hard light layer with white, see that we are adding land to it. So as we stroke around, we're adding a mountain range, and as we come along like that, we can add more mountains and sort of build up the land where there was none before. And the other thing we can do is if we switch down there to black, we can use that to take away color. So I'm going to make this brush a little bit larger, and now we can clear out large sections where we don't want land to be. And by going back and forth between adding with the white and taking away with the black, we can create a fairly realistic island chain. And one of the nice things is if you just press the X key, the letter X, it's a very fast way to toggle in between adding and subtracting. So switching back to subtracting again, painting in black, and we can take out a couple of islands until we get sort of the general idea of what we want it to look like. But once we're happy with the general shape, then we can sort of zoom in and make the brush a little bit smaller. Maybe want to add in some more again, so we'll switch back to white. And we can sort of add a little chain there. And then if we felt there was a little bit too much, we can take that away again. So just by playing around, by going back and forth with the white and the black, we can make our island chain look like something you might actually see on an actual map. And if I just turn off the gradient for a second, you can see all we're doing here is adding white and black onto this layer here. So it's the gradient which takes that raw data and turns it into something that looks like a map. And this is great. This will give you sort of a nice overview of a world map if you're looking for something a little bit more realistic. If you want something that looks a little bit more like a cartographer's map, like you might see painted on an old parchment, we can take this and then modify it a little bit to get that effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder here, and we're going to throw everything into that folder, and we're going to turn off the gradient. We're going to add in a new layer for posterizing. So we're going to right click down here, new correction layer, and posterization, and we're going to take that down to 4. So to give us a very rough version of posterization. So we sort of we've taken down to sort of a deep ocean area, and then the shallows, and then the land, and then the tops of the mountains there. Now what we're going to do is click on this base folder here, and we're going to go to Selection, select all. You can also press Control A. Now what we're going to do is press Edit. We're going to copy that with Control C. And then what we're going to do is paste that. And you can see here that we've made a second copy of our folder that we had before. So we're going to take that new layer we just created. We're going to turn that off. This is our first map down here. We're not going to use it for now. We just made a copy of it so that we're not going to destroy anything that we created the first time. So we can always go back and modify it more later. But this we're going to right click and we're going to combine selected layer. So that whole folder just became a single flat image. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to blur this a little bit. So we're going to go to Filter, Blur, and we're going to do a Gaussian blur. And 6, maybe we can go a little bit higher than that. You don't want to blur it too much. This is mostly just to get the edge off of the Gaussian effect you just put in, so that when you zoom in, you have this sort of soft line rather than a hard line. If you press Control Z, you can see what was before. This is a little bit too hard for what we need. We need that Gaussian blur in order to let the gradient be able to do its thing. So just like we applied a gradient on the previous map to make it look like the world, we're going to come up with a new gradient to make this look like a old-fashioned map drawn with ink and paper. So we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to put our blurred map into the new folder, and now we're going to create a new correction layer. Going to go down to gradient map, And this time we're going to create sort of a sepia color. So we're going to click on there, and we're going to start off with sort of a mid-brown. Where's good mid-brown? Maybe make that a little yellower. So that's going to be like the sort of deep ocean color. That's what sort of the paper of our map looks like. Then we're going to maybe bring that up to there. Now we're going to have to create a very dark line for what the edges of our map looks like. So we're going to take that and bring it all the way down to black. And now we're going to have to create something that on the other side so that it looks a little bit more like the paper color again. So we're going to click on the sample color. We're going to click over here to sample that color that we already had, and now we're going to move this up a little bit so that, there we go. We want that little black band to settle right on the edge, right on the transition from the ocean to the land. So when you get that in the right place, you're going to see that nice crisp line around the edges of your island. Then after this point, it's more a matter of tweaking the colors to make it look like what you want to. So we might want to make the land a little bit lighter, just to give a little bit of distinction between the map land and the ocean land. And then, whoops, let's bring that back up there. Then maybe we want to change that color too to make it not quite so white. Let's bring that down and let's make that a little bit whiter. And a little bit more. And there's a lot of tweaking you can do to just make this kind of look like a map. And all right, let's add one more over here so that we can sort of see the ocean shoals. Let's make that a little bit darker there. Not too dark. Maybe went a little bit too far there. All right, and just by tweaking your color palette, you can make this map look. Gonna click OK to confirm. There we have it. By just adding a simple blur, by adding a simple posterize and then a blur effect, you can turn that underlying noise pattern into a really nice looking map that you can add, which you can then further customize by adding roads and houses and other things. Or if you want something that looks a little bit more realistic, you can, it's going to turn off your posterization and turn back on a gradient map. You can also just color the original Perlin noise. So I hope this helps. If you're trying to create a map, this is certainly a fast way to do it and an easy way to do it, and you don't have to individually draw in every single bump on the shoreline. So I hope you found this helpful, and if you like it, give me a like or leave a message in the comments below. Thanks.